On this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast, we were lucky enough to be joined by GoalKeeper's drummer Cody. The band out of Philadelphia. We talk about the pop punk scene in the area and how it has continued to grow and thrive. Cody and I talk about the greatness that is the Wonder Years coming out of Philadelphia. And then Kyle asked the question what they would do different if they were to start the band today. Thanks for jumping on, and let's open this pit up.
Somebody hit somebody!
Welcome to this week's episode of the Pit Therapy Podcast with me, Trevor, and Kyle. And then we got a special guest today. We have Cody from GoalKeeper.
Very happy to be here, fellas.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much for jumping on. We're really excited for this. I've been a big fan of GoalKeeper since, when did you guys start, technically?
Technically, 2017, I think. Something around this. Like when the first song about a sandwich came out.
So I caught you guys off of, it's probably your second EP, the one with the shark head.
Don't last.
Bad Times Don't Last. Yep. So that's where I caught you guys. There was an article written on something I was reading, and I was like, oh, I'll go check those guys out. Okay. And we were in the process of moving from our first home. We moved in with my in-laws for a period, and I'm typically into like hardcore, heavy metal music and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't be blasting this at my in-laws' house. So it was like a nonstop onslaught of GoalKeeper when I was in and around the house.
I will say, it's one of the things I feel like I could play around work too. It's just general good music. Nobody's going to say no to it. You know?
Exactly. So I was really excited when I found you guys. Life in Slow Motion. It's my favorite EP that you guys have put out. I love your new album too, but I've really connected to you guys for a long time.
Yeah, so something special about that EP in general. So that was our COVID release. That was, how that thing ended getting released. And I feel like it would have done so much more for us. Not to say it didn't do a lot, but I feel like being able to tour on it and being able to really like capitalize on the excitement that we felt when we first released. I feel the same with you. Like I love the new stuff, but there's some songs on that EP that I feel like just absolutely nailed.
Oh my gosh.
Do you have a personal favorite?
Good. Absolutely. I really like Graveyard. It's fantastic. The opening guitar riff on that, it's just so different. It almost feels like, I said this when we talked about you guys the first time, but almost like an 80s style guitar riff, like whatever effects that you're using on it. Yeah. It was just like a throwback feel for me. So I really like that one. And then Happy, man. Happy is such a good song.
Yeah. So the two stories about that. Mark is a guitar nerd and loves finding tone. Like tone is his 100% his thing, right? And I think that's where he really starts to shine because a lot of people have complimented the little things like that guitar riff and a lot that Mark has done on his guitar work throughout the entirety of it. And then Happy is a song that our longtime friend Kevin Mahoney, who plays in Hit the Lights, he produced Bad Times Don't Last, and then we moved on to the next record with him too. That was the first co-write we did with him. He'd written the instrumentals. He was like, I don't know if you guys like this. It sounds like it could be a GoalKeeper song. If you guys want to work together on it. And then we just kind of joined forces, and Happy was the end result.
Oh, so sick. Well, I mean, dude, we've hit the ground running so far. Like, we're just taking off on this episode. So a little bit of background then. 2017 is when you guys got started. You're out of Philadelphia, correct?
Yes. Yep. Philly-based band.
Awesome. And then you guys are just a three-piece. Yeah. Was that a conscious decision or just never found the right fourth member or?
Conscious decision. Yeah. There's something special about a three-piece. You know what I mean? Like that kind of, there's a magic to it. Whether it's like Green Day or Blank or, whatever band you want to say. I think there's something magical between the three people. And Mark and Ryan are absolutely perfect. I love those dudes. I wouldn't want to write music with anybody else. I've been in bands beforehand, and they're always like those crappy high school bands you have. GoalKeeper was that first band that actually felt like we knew what we were doing.
Sick.
I mean, yeah it sounds like you knew what you were doing too. Because they're good. It's good music. One thing that we talked about when we, because I don't know if you know much, but like we do these episodes where we're finding kind of newer bands that are more local to their areas, and then we're trying to like talk about them. And I mean, we're small too, but we're trying to like help and get names out and stuff because there's just good music everywhere, right? So But the three-piece was very interesting when we started talking about you guys, because we had talked about bigger bands like Alkaline Trio, and I played bass in the sucky high school band that me and Trevor were in, mostly because they needed a bass player, and I just was the closest guy next to him.
That's how bass players come to be. Somebody needs
I know, right? No one, people don't choose to play bass; it chooses them. But
no, yeah, I know.
I've always appreciated though, like Alkaline Trio, for example, like very defined sounds with things like bass. You know, the drums don't get convoluted because there's so much other sound going in bands like that. And that was one thing listening to you guys that I was like, that's really cool. Like I can hear every single part of your guys' music.
That, like you have to work as a group. You have to work as like a team, because I think everything complements itself when you're working together. And we sound louder and fuller as a band, even though we are a three-piece. That goes into our writing, and the notes that Mark plays on guitar, they're not just regular power chords. They're full. It's like, we call them cowboy chords because they're just so wonky sometimes. And then Ryan sometimes is playing like bass chords, and him and I really focus on like linking up on specific parts. So like we really do try and hone in that magic of the three-piece, like Alkaline Trio.
No, that's way sick. So how did you guys meet up? I think I've read an interview about kind of just floating around the scene together, but how did GoalKeeper come to be?
I remember it's always really funny the way I talk about how I met Mark. It was a show that you had to pay to play, first off, which is a rookie mistake. But both of our bands were on the show, and he was talking to me after it. He was talking to me forever, and I really thought he liked my band. So we became friends after that. But getting to know Mark, that's just how he is. He just always talks like that. And his band started melting. My band was melting. And we knew Ryan from another band. And I was like, we should look into him if he wants to. And we needed a cover band for a show I was playing. And Mark and Ryan were like, yeah, we're down. And so we called ourselves the Pizzas. And we did like 6 or 7 cover songs from like the 2000s, so like the mid 2010s. It was fun as hell. And we were like, we should probably do this more. And that's how GoalKeeper came to be. Just like that.
So did you guys play, like, has pop punk kind of always been the music that y'all have played, or did you come from different genres?
So I would say the bands that I played, I always thought they were pop punk, but looking back, it was probably like really weird experimental emo. I just was playing the drums hard and fast.
Okay.
And Mark actually grew up loving like Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then that kind of developed into other kinds of rock. And I think he went to a 4 Year Strong show or something like that. And it changes absolutely his whole life. 4 Year Strong is his core. That's where he really likes to sit. And I don't think he's played in anything other than pop punk bands. Ryan may have played in like a hard rock or the hardcore band or something in high school, but nothing too serious. We've all been pretty much pop punk heads.
Yeah.
Okay. So being a pop punk head then, like, what is your go-to?
Ooh, so mine's the Wonder Years.
Oh,
Yeah.
heck yeah.
Yeah, I bleed and die that band. But the reason why I'm playing in a pop punk band is because I saw them at a VFW really early in their career. And I remember as a kid and like a showgoer, I was like, this is fucking cool. This VFW is filling up. People are crowd surfing. People are climbing on each other. And I remember they were closing out their set. And the last song, I was like, I gotta crowd surf. So I got up on stage and like I timed it right with the song. My back hit the crowd at that right moment, and I was like, I have to do this for other people. Like I have to be part of this somehow. And so that's the reason why I'm playing a GoalKeeper now.
Oh,
That's
gosh,
awesome.
dude. I love the Wonder Years so much.
Phenomenal band.
Yeah,
Can't do anything wrong. Yeah, not in
I
my
just
eyes.
caught them. Shoot, when was that? Last September on the Greatest Generation.
Yeah, killer.
So I was never like a huge Wonder Years fan. I know Trevor really liked them, but I never really got into them. I mostly went to this show to see Anxious and Sweet Pill because I think Sweet Pill is awesome.
Sweet Pill is great. New Jersey local.
But completely, like seeing them live completely changed me on the Wonder Years. I'm a huge fan now. I
I think they're
deep
one of
dove
those
their
bands that are
discography.
really undeniable live. They are my favorite band to see live, without a doubt. They absolutely crush it every single time. There's so much passion in Dan Campbell's voice. Yeah, they can't do anything wrong.
Super, like, there's so much that could be said, right? But we could spend an entire episode on talking about the Wonder Years, and we're here to talk about GoalKeeper. So, we'll kind of let that one be. Yeah. Absolutely. No, for sure. Because again, I love him so much. Aaron West in the Roaring 20s, like everything that Dan does. incredible.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So,
I'll listen to anything that man does. If he farts into a mic, I'm in.
that's awesome. What about the other guys? What are they like? If you're in the van and you don't get to put the Wonder Years on, what else is pumping through the speakers?
So I was actually talking to someone about this today. I DJ most in the van, but I know what everybody likes. Mark is definitely a Red Hot Chili Peppers is a guilty pleasure, but I kind of have found the circles in which we exist in the pop punk realm. So Ryan is that early 2000s, loves Blink, MXPX, Newfound Glory, and Mark is that fun time from like 2005 to 2010. So any kind of thing you can pull out from there, like For Your Song, I said earlier, loves Day to Remember. And then I love 2010 Zone, like Man Overboard, The Story So Far, Wonder Years, all of those bands. So it's usually all those. If I'm going guilty pleasures, Ryan loves country music, which I don't get behind, but he's a country fan. Every band's got one. And then Mark likes, he's got unique tastes. Sometimes he'll throw on like a song from like the 40s. I'm just like, what are you doing? But sometimes you got to be expressive.
So what about your drumming? When did you get started with this, and like how did you develop your style?
There was a talent show at that school. And I was like, oh yeah, boys, let's form a band. Let's do this. And I think I was the only one who went through with it. I got like a drum set. And it sat for a little bit, but then I eventually got back into it, and I started learning covers like Sure We're Going Down and some Blink songs, that, like all the small things, the easy stuff at first, of course. And then I think I really started building myself around the 2010 artists. Like I really loved Mike Kennedy, The Wonder Years. I really liked Fireworks. The Stories of Far was always really fun to play, even though I really couldn't keep up at the time. So I think that's where a lot of my early things came from. Obviously, Travis Barker. You can't not be a drummer these days in a pop punk band and say Travis Barker has not influenced you in a little bit of a way. I'm completely blanking on his name, but it was the drummer for the Dangerous Summer for a really long time. Ben Cato. That was his name. He is phenomenal drummer.
Okay.
I really loved his style. 2010 drumming. Yeah, pop punk. That's basically who I am.
Oh, so sick.
When did you know though that like, hey, I can play drums for a band? What was that like? What point could you say that?
I feel like it was learn as you go. Burn and crash a few times, and then plan to pick it up. You just join those local shows, you start playing, and then eventually you're like, hey, yeah, I can do this. I would say where I finally started feeling confident is actually probably with GoalKeeper, and I got on a click. The moment I got on the click, my live game changed. I always thought it was going to take away from like the live performance or something, and I was real, nose in the air about it for a long time. And then we watched the video back from a show that we were playing, and I was like, wow, I really speed up. Oh, I slowed down. Oh, I go back. This isn't good. It was just wildly inconsistent, and I feel like there was actually a time where people just started like driving like an hour or 2 hours to come see us. And I know if I drove 2 hours to go see a band and they were crap, I'd be mad. So I was like, you know what, Cody? Probably about time you start taking this a little bit more seriously. And that probably was like 2018, 2019. So it was pretty far into my drumming career.
I gotcha. Well, I will say, like, we already talked about our crappy high school band, right? And the majority of our issue was, I mean, we were terrible to begin with, but we also just did not have a drummer for the life of us. We could not find anyone. And it was because we were playing, what were we playing, Kyle? Post-hardcore,
metalcore
type sound.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get like kids from the high school band to be the drummer for us who didn't listen to the style of music or anything like that. And
you didn't even know what a double bass pedal was either. And
oh my gosh.
It was rough.
I think drummers sometimes are a little bit more rare than bass players. You know what I mean? Once you find one, you keep on to them, because like I feel like the typical thing is drummers playing 5 different bands. Which I don't know how they do. Can probably keep up with one.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely sure that if you're a good drummer, you probably get scooped up so fast.
It's been asked. You know what? It's funny enough, somebody asked me to do some studio work for them recently, and I kind of got a little blown up in my head about it. I was like, wow, somebody's asking me to do something. And then I finally got there, and he was like, yeah, I got a bottle of Jack for you. Is that cool? And I was like, I guess. Yeah, why not? Yeah. Gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, that's sweet. That's awesome. We finally convinced our other host who's usually on with us. His name's Josh. And he plays guitar, bass, drums, everything. And we finally convinced him for 2 shows to come play with us. And we're like, oh, we actually sound okay, right? For this crappy band. And then he's like, yeah, I'm never doing that again. And so we were like, all right, well, we're done then. So
yeah, I know the feeling.
Okay, so I'm super interested in the Philly scene. In talking about you guys, I was blown away at how many pop punk bands come out of Philly.
There's something on the water.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know what it is over here. I feel like maybe it is just like the massive support that the bands do get, or something like the Wonder Years, the Menzingers, Tiger's Jaw, just to name a few that have come out of Philly in the last 10 years or so. I don't know what it is, but the scene is phenomenal. And you know what? Actually, now that I'm starting to think about it, maybe it is how accessible it is too. I never take for granted being a band from Philly and being able to drive 2 hours and go to a different market. I can't imagine being a band from Iowa and being like, yeah, 2 hours, we got to Iowa.
Right.
I think that has a lot to do with the Philly scene. There's just so much influence and there's so much that people want to be here for. So I think there is something to come, and for some reason it stays. So if you can come to the Philly scene, come on through.
That's incredible. It's awesome. We've always known the Northeast for the hardcore scene, right? Because our background is we grew up metalcore, hardcore, all of that kind of stuff. Pop punk is always going to be part of that, right? Because of the adjacent of everything. You keep saying the 4 Year Strong, one of my favorite bands. Yeah. I absolutely love 4 Year. But we've always known that area for hardcore specifically. So when all of a sudden all this pop punk was popping up, I was like, oh my God, like it's just a breeding ground for alternate music. Mm-hmm. It feels like.
Well, I feel like there's always something happening here. I mean, like back in the early 2000s too, I mean, like Long Island, the scene over here was insane. You know, just to have Brand New and Taking Back Sunday both come from the same area. Bayside too. I think the city, I can't remember. There's quite a few. I feel like there is something special here. I don't want it to ever go away, I can tell you that.
Do like kids show up to shows and stuff? Like that part of it's healthy? Like you guys have bands, but the like
now, I would say I feel like maybe when 2015, 2016, kind of like when I was playing shows back then, it was almost kind of worn out because like the early 2010s, the scene was insane. People are going out to shows all the time just to go out to a show. I think we've kind of like come full circle back to it, where people just come out to come out to a show. I think not to say, I mean, you can't not talk about it. I think COVID took that away from us for so long. Now that we do have it, it's something that people hold on a little closer to. So I think Philly has stayed alive, which is, it's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you brought up COVID, and you mentioned kind of, writing albums and music through that. I do want to talk about that portion, but I guess in regards to the scene, because again, we talk a lot about hardcore. We're big pop punk fans, but we do talk a lot about hardcore, and we're noticing this kind of huge explosion in hardcore coming out of COVID. Social media has made it a lot more accessible, which is good and bad. So I didn't know in Salt Lake City, where we're from, we're seeing like a huge explosion of kids going back out to shows. This cool generational gap of like guys older than us are still coming out to shows. And then, you got high school kids that are coming out, and it just seems like really healthy. So it's interesting to hear you talk about kind of that circle, right? Because it took something like COVID, I think, to bring it back around.
Something interesting about hardcore is how much it kind of, I won't say infiltrates, but like maybe permeates throughout other music in different ways. So we did a tour, and this is where I first got introduced to my life, right? Before this tour, I thought hardcore was like a day to remember. I didn't think that it was like a style. I just thought it was heavier music, yada, yada, right? But we went on a tour with a band called House and Home, and they're like hardcore adjacent. They're a really great rock band from Richmond. And the music they were listening to, the styles that they had, and like just how they performed live too, and how the fans like really, really fucked with them. I was like, that was my introduction to the hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And so our photographer we bring on tour, his name is Bill Cardella, and he plays in a hardcore band. He's played in hardcore bands all throughout his career as a musician, and he's just so cool. I really don't know how to explain that. Just like his essence about it has really introduced me to what the community is in hardcore. And I don't really know too much about it, but I've gone out to a few hardcore shows since, and it's insane. I love it. You don't even have to know the music. It's not really about knowing it. I feel like it's really more about supporting music, supporting the people in your town, area, community, and just having a place for people to throw down. you know? And if you can respect that, then I think the hardcore scene respects you.
Well, it's like Trevor said, a lot of that bleeds through to other genres. Like some of the wildest shows I've been to have been pop punk bands playing in hardcore like settings, and so
Also,
that,
being in South Jersey scene for so long, it was taken over by hardcore for like the longest time. And I was this little wimpy pop punk band. And we were like, yeah, we'll join the bill. Why not? And I always felt like we were kind of the relief in between, which people liked. I think the two go together well, like you said.
I love when pop punk's on heavier music bills. Like one of my favorite shows I can remember going to is, or vice versa, right? A hardcore band on a pop punk bill kind of thing. So Newfound Glory came rolling through with 4 Years Strong, but they brought Comeback Kid with them. And that show was incredible because like when you get to Salt Lake, when you get out here in Utah, our hardcore scene, it's pretty big, it's pretty aggressive, and the kids enjoy pop punk. So we have kids swinging during Newfound Glory. We have kids swinging during 4 Years Strong and stuff like that. And so it's a weird dynamic.
Yeah, I feel like Newfound grew up in that kind of stuff, and like the more pop punk that they got and like out of the scene and towards the mainstream, I feel like people probably aren't used to it. So when they do bring a hardcore band or somebody heavier with them on tour, it probably feels good. Probably feels like real days.
Oh, it's so fun.
I just went to Neck Deep with Drain.
Yeah. I think that's actually in Philly tonight or yesterday or something. But nice. Yes, that tour looks insane. Drain's an amazing band.
They're incredible. And he came out and he was like, who here has been to a hardcore show? And like 4 of us raised our hands. And he was like, there are no rules for us. Break all the rules. But it was cool because like people, it kind of livened up the crowd a little bit. And then Neck Deep just went off and it was a freaking blast and stuff.
Well, like I said, I feel like the idea with that kind of stuff is just to have a good time, to really just get down, let up the aggression go for a little bit.
Sure. So I guess bringing it back then, what was it like for you guys as a band through COVID?
We wrote a record. That was the first thing we decided to do. So timing wise, we recorded the Life in Slow Motion EP in January. COVID started in March, and we were like, yeah, this is going to end in like 2 months. And then it didn't. And we're like, so what do we do? So we just started immediately writing music for the next record. And I think that's how we actually were able to come up with so much material for the next record, for I Wish I Met You Sooner. We really just jumped right into it because we didn't want to waste any time. Music videos were expensive. So that just seemed like the next logical move too. Also, I'm not sure if you guys felt this, but in COVID, when you release something, the next week it was gone. Not on the mind of anybody at all anymore. So you put it out. And I think we also released the record on the same day. It's like Taylor Swift and Neck Deep. So lost. So the next logical thing was just do that. And by the time that record came out, we were already having shows. I remember our first show back was in LA. As weird as that is, we had a connection over there, and they just set it up, and we said, all right, first show back, we're hopping on a plane. So COVID was interesting. A lot of it was just music writing, which was good. It's probably the healthiest way that we could have spent COVID. I would have loved to have spent it touring, but that didn't happen for nobody. That's okay.
I gotcha. So I feel like you guys are a bridging gap between generations, coming at the end of 2017, 2018, and into today, where you can produce music on your own. So that initial 2018, when you got started, when you dropped your first music and stuff like that, were you guys like looking for labels, looking for the support, still trying to find the studio, versus like today, it's like, I'll just go self-produce. Like there's so much music through self-production.
There is, I think when we first got serious about this, there was a real big change in the industry. Like you wanted to be on a label. That's what everybody wanted. But the more I see it now, label is just kind of like money. And then they get to keep your masters, which is not cool. So I think in the beginning stages, we were like, yeah, let's definitely look into a label. Let's try and get the best studio we can, find management, yada, yada. I guess like everybody thought. We ended up getting on a label for a while, and they put out Life in Slow Motion and I Wish I Met You Sooner. But now that we are free of any contract, I think that we'll stay this way, unless something absolutely undeniable comes around. But I think just being able to do it yourself, if you can afford the studio time, do it. You can do everything on TikTok. Your videos don't have to be insane. All that marketing is just you, and you have to be unique about it. As long as you can be unique, you're gonna be just fine. So as long as you can find a spot to record and have some good sound, you can do everything on your own. You don't need a label. They're just a bank. Yeah.
So did they help you with at least like tour booking or anything like that, or was it pretty much just the production of the music?
Really just a bank. Yes. So they put in a few things like they help us get into. Are you guys familiar with Fest in Florida?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So we got the chance to play that the last 3 years. That was really awesome. I feel like that was a connection with the label. But besides that, it's not like everybody wears different hats. Like it is very much like you have one hat and that's what you do. So like if you wanted to have someone help you out with touring, you really want a booking agent, and they would do that for you. And if you want somebody who helps you get into contact with labels and distribution, that's more a different hat in itself too. So as far as like a label goes, really, honestly, the only purpose is just to give you a little bit of funding and then have your masters for most cases. In my opinion, 75% of the time, that's probably what it is. Unless you have like usually a smaller DIY label who actually just wants to see smaller bands do it because they like have a heart and passion for music in the community. If it seems too good to be true, it usually is.
Okay. If you could pick a label, just putting this out there, who would you pick?
High school me would pick Hopeless in a heartbeat. I absolutely loved everything they were putting out in high school. I think they were on top of the game. And like some of the artists they still have are great. I think Neck Deep is still on there. Lori might still be. It's been a while since I looked at the roster. But if I was in high school, that's how I would pick, no doubt.
What about today? I'm putting you on the spot here, bro.
Yeah. No, I would probably still stick with Hopeless. Yeah. I feel like they've got some good content, and they haven't let me down.
Sick. Well, what's kind of on doc for GoalKeeper?
Important question. Yeah. So we've been doing demos the latter half of 2023, and we just went back to the Gradwell House in January, and we did 4 songs, laid them out. We don't really know what the exact plan is, but we'll just see how the year takes us. And we're independent, so we can go ahead and take it out on our own time. I will say they are definitely heavier, without a doubt. We have gone. It's not the same. It's the same people who wrote Sunshine, but we're not singing about Sunshine no more. I feel like we finally got to that point where we're like, well, what do we want to say? Instead of just writing, like, coming into practice and say, hey, I wrote this banger of a love song. It's more of like, hey, guys, what do we want to talk about with our art? Which I feel like that's an interesting spot to get to with your music. And it's a privilege to have with Mark and Ryan, that I get to like actually come to them and say, hey, I want to do this with my music. I want to say this. I want to affect people this way. It's much more emotional. I feel like it's tighter and like more mature. So we've been really influenced by bands like Heart Attack Man and Arm's Length and Microwave. Ooh. We're definitely going to get a little bit heavier with the tones coming in. So don't expect anything like, it's definitely not up middle pop punk. And then we have a tour coming up in March with Floor Space. We've been friends with them for a really long time. So we decided to hit the Midwest for a little bit. Love hitting the Midwest. I don't know if we're coming out towards Salt Lake City.
I saw you guys were in Tulsa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm in Dallas right now, so you're like that far away from me being able to come see you.
Oh man, well I love Texas. We'll have to come back there. We have confirmed another tour for later this year. We haven't announced it yet, so I won't say anything. But we're doing touring this year.
Well,
so yeah,
sick.
It's just touring, releasing some new music, which is the most exciting part. And then I think we're just gonna take it that way, where we're probably just taking it one song at a time. I don't see why we would go back into the studio and do a full length because it's just too expensive. And honestly, I feel like people wait too long for a full length.
Yeah.
You can write a great song today, but people don't get to hear it until a year and a half now because you're trying to compile 10 other songs. So what's the point? If you got a good song, go record it, put it out, give it to the people.
Listen, keep preaching, man. Keep preaching.
I knew this was going to come up. I knew this was going to come up.
We've had this debate because Kyle is live and die by giving you a full length, like
full
12, 15 songs.
I totally get it. It's like, as a fan and as an artist, I really wanted to put out our first full length. Like, that means something, right? For an artist to go, like, this is our first full length album. It feels, almost like a rite of passage. So, but just in the day that we're at now, it's just, I don't feel like people look for them the same way, and people don't like. I'm like you. I'll listen to the first song and get to the last song, and then have my complete thoughts about the record. But I feel like we're a dying breed, and there are a lot of people who just like select songs. And with the way streaming is these days, it's just so much easier for people just to have one little bites here and there. If
Do
I
you
could
want to hear the
every day,
irony about this whole thing? Is Kyle sits here and he preaches full lengths, but he's a playlist guy. he puts like single songs all over the place.
Hold on. I don't really do single songs though. It's usually full albums, and yeah, I've got like 2,000 song playlists and stuff. But my biggest thing is that, like, you guys, for example, like, I like your music. I don't want a 5-song EP, but I will say, hearing you talk about how you guys are like self-producing and have to pay for studio time, and it's probably easier to just, you guys can go in and do 5 songs, get them out, and we can listen to them. So if I had to choose between not getting music from you guys and an EP, I will choose EP.
There you go. Listen,
we'll
I think the best feeling I can leave you with is that you wanted more. So if I can do that, you'll continue to listen to GoalKeeper. So.
That's good. That's true. I also feel
if I can put out a full-length album every day, why the hell not?
There you go.
I also feel like the interesting thing about EPs is you tend to be able to bridge the gaps between sound changes easier. When you would do full lengths and a band would do a pretty drastic change, it would often alienate a lot of their fan base.
Well,
we've talked about
we were taken, because going from the poppy straight up the middle that we were and where we are now, so how do you transition that, right? Like, how do you just say, hey, everybody, you love that previous stuff. I hope you like this different stuff. So I think if you have four songs, a few songs to kind of just gently lean into, instead of taking a whole 10 songs, to try and get your point across, I think it is a little easier for people to accept.
Yeah.
Or, you know what, best case scenario, they love it too, And I want to say, I'd love to say this. I feel like these next 2 songs that we're putting out are some of the best stuff we've done. We'll sit back and like actually listen to it. And I remember in the studio, I was just looking back at the first time after listening to the first 4 songs. And I was just like, guys, we did it. This is what it feels like, right? Shit, we're going down. Like, I can only imagine what that must have been like. I feel really proud about where we're going. So I think people are going to like it. It's a departure for sure, but like, I'm still 100% confident about it.
You don't have to sell that to us. Well, I mean, maybe Trevor, because Trevor has a problem with bands that change their sound. So I don't. Look, he bagged on me. I'm going to bag on him. I'm pumped for it. And I love Arm's Length. So any chance this sounds anything close to what Arm's Length does, I'm there.
They're my favorite band, of the last year. Like, insane release for that record. And I'm only excited to see where they go from this. They're going to be huge.
I will say, though, there is something about the storytelling aspect of a full-length album. We talked about the Wonder Years a lot. What's the blue one with the guy on No Closer to Heaven? The storytelling on that album is insane, right? Like, there's something about that. So
that guy's got a lot to say.
He has so much to say. But I love all aspects. But I prefer more music more often. So I'm EP trained.
Yeah,
and I'm down with that. Are you going to make it out west? Torian, you've said you got this one that you haven't announced yet.
Yeah,
not asking where you're going, but...
I don't think it's headed as far as California, unfortunately.
Okay.
We actually have something lined up for California, but something fell through. We were very excited to hit California. I would love to go out there, and I think that's probably our next goal as a band, without even talking about like international and that kind of thing. I'd love just to be able to hit the whole U.S. That sounds like a dream come true. So I think it's just a matter of finding the right band to do it with, or bands. Because if you see on flyers these days, I feel like less and less people are doing like a full month-long, 2-long tour, because it's more sustainable to do like a 2-week tour, that kind of thing. So, if you find the right bands to do it, I'd love to. But unfortunately, at the moment, there are no California plans, or as far as west as I'd like to go.
I gotcha. What do you like to do in your off time? So GoalKeeper is the fun stuff. What else you do?
Yeah, GoalKeeper is the fun stuff. I'm a manager at a mom and pop shop. It's kind of like Wawa. We do it's like a deli. We have sandwiches. We got hoagies. We got cheesesteaks. The whole deal. It's very mom and pop. My boss used to be in a band, so he understands the whole thing. So he gives me the time off, and I get to be rock star. on the days off that I'm not there. It's
And they're not Philly cheesesteaks. They're just cheesesteaks, right?
It's just cheese. I'm not going to claim Philly on that one. No, I'm too far south in Jersey for that. But they're good.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like I make a pretty good one.
I've just heard that people from like Philadelphia get super mad when you call it a Philly cheesesteak because to them it's just a cheesesteak.
Yeah, it's just a cheesesteak, right? Yeah, I feel like when you call it a Philly cheesesteak outside of Philly, it's just like you're trying to take a little bit of that Philly with you. It's not gonna happen. If you got cheesesteak on your menu, just call it a cheesesteak, man. Yeah.
I'll eat it no matter what. So.
Yeah, besides that, I feel like I really don't do too much. I like to read. I got 2 cats. They take up my life. I watch a lot of movies. I'm very big into movies. And then, for the past year, I had a tree fall out back.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm really pulling it out here, guys. So the band is my main thing.
No, I gotcha.
Cool. Yeah.
What movie scene are you into? Are you into the Marvel stuff? Are you into?
Yeah, I'm a sucker. Yeah, and actually today I was catching up on some Harry Potter things. So besides that, my favorite movie of all time is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I think it's classic.
Oh, nice.
You can't go wrong with that. No, there's a much deeper story to it. Yeah. When I was in college, I was a film major. So that was probably one place I could have gone in life, but I picked music.
I think we've talked to like 2 other bands that have had members that are film majors.
I was a very bad film major. Let's be clear. I was before the class, and then we get in there, and the lights would go off, and I'd
fall asleep.
I was technically a film major, and I have a degree. So,
do you produce the music videos then?
No, I think early on I liked having a hand in it, and then I was like, "This is too much." So I like to pass that part off. Writing the art, I can definitely get into. Producing the music videos, I know it's in better hands with someone else. Do you know? Are you familiar with the band Sharia Moore?
I feel like I've heard the name.
Yeah, they're from Baltimore. Their guitarist Casey, he used to be our photographer, and he's done a few music videos for us. I love when he's got his hands involved. He's done an amazing job. Our photographer now, Bill Cardella, he does music content. I would love to do some music videos with him. But I would definitely say I know my lane, and I'm going to stay in it, which is letting somebody else do that.
That's why we don't play music anymore, so we understand.
Hey, listen, man, I got you. If you need good tunes, I got you for it. If I need a good podcast, I got you guys for it.
There you go. So I don't know if Trevor has any other questions. I have like really just one more question for me. And if you could go back now, because you've been a band or you've at least been doing this for a while, right? What would you do different? What's like one thing maybe that you wish you would have known before you started or that you could have done different?
I think I probably would have had the talk with the boys sooner. I would have been like, hey guys, we all really want to do this, right? And we're all like, yeah. And then so we started taking it really seriously from there. I probably would have had that talk sooner. I would have gotten on a click sooner as far as musician, definitely.
Yeah.
I probably would have tried writing the songs we write today way back then if I had a teleportation machine. That would be nice. I'd like to bring those songs back there.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, but I don't think there has been anything that I would technically do too much differently. Just those things. I actually really like the trajectory we've been in and the band and the time that we've taken. It feels really good. It feels natural. And, like, honestly, I think for GoalKeeper, for a really long time, we were seen as kind of like a joke band because we wrote songs about Wawa and being your pong partner and that kind of thing, right? And I think, honestly, what we've always really wanted to write were the songs that we're writing nowadays. We just didn't really know how to talk about it because we were just awkward college guys, you know? So I think we finally figured out our emotions. And I think for me, it feels more natural, right? I feel like we started here and we've just done this up. And I feel like people have grown with us. Like the community is definitely, like we're talking about the Philly scene, the people I got to see in shows in 2016 versus still seeing them now in 2024. Like that's insane. And the amount of people, it's grown. So I'm really happy with everything. I probably wouldn't change too much. I'll just tell myself to get better at drums as well.
Yeah.
Maturing sound is one thing. I'm with you on maturing sounds, right? Yeah. Changing sound, whole different story, right? So
right. Yeah, I mean bands like Turnover who have gone from what they were to shoegaze. And then fans where I feel like Dan Campbell said it the best. Talk about the Wonder Years too much, but I think he described their change and their maturity as like the Dorito taco from Taco Bell was where they were, and then they made it the Cool Ranch taco, and they were like, "Yeah, we mature. That's the kind of mature we want." It's the same stuff, but just a little bit better.
See, and what you were saying with like your fans maturing with you, like I experienced that. And again, I'll jump back into the Wonder Years with you as well, because like they were a band that happened, right? Starting out with Suburbia, starting out with the Upsides, the straight in your face pop punk and stuff, to then the Greatest Generation. And then I wasn't a big fan of No Closer to Heaven when it first came out. And then, today, absolutely love the album, right? So I'm looking forward to what you guys have coming out next, because I like growth. I like development. Listen, don't go shoegaze on me. If you go shoegaze on me, I'm not come on here. I've got to talk crap, right? But you want to explore your emotions, you want to get a little bit heavier, I'm all for it. We're all good that way.
He's saying that to the guy wearing a title fight shirt.
I said I was going to get off here and go write a shoegaze song right now.
Yeah. No, I was saying that Trevor's saying that while I'm wearing the title fight shirt, because I actually like their shoegaze stuff. So
I'm just not a big title fight guy, and I was just talking to somebody about them today. I was like, I don't know. I never picked it up. Never did that one for me.
Yeah. I got into their first couple albums. Head in a Ceiling fan, man. Like, let's make it a reality. Like, I'll put my head in a ceiling fan before I listen to that stuff again.
Crazy, dude. You're crazy. No, you're gonna scare him away, dude. You can't.
You gotta scare him away. Listen to you guys.
Not scared him away. We're all good. So
I'll come back. I'll defend my shoegaze. Don't worry.
Oh, we're all for it. We're all for it. But
I love Turnover
awesome,
too.
I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to want to talk to me.
No, we're super happy that you came on, and honestly, you guys are a dope band, and I've got that 2000 song playlist for pop punk. You guys are on there. You pop up. I love it. So I'm, like Trevor said, I'm a fan of growth too. So I'm super excited to see what you guys have coming out.
Thank
so
you.
we're all on board with GoalKeeper.
More people on here. I'll get Mark or Ryan on here next time.
Yeah, no, we love to have you all on here. You can give them a big middle finger from us for this one, but those guys are awesome. Like, I know everyone's busy, and so we really do appreciate you taking the time. But shout out the socials. Shout out you already talked about the tour that's coming out, but where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, GoalKeeper Band. That's it. You don't need to look for
GoalKeeper Band.
Yep, absolutely. All in the same stuff. You can find it. If it has anything to do with the sport, it's not us. Sorry.
Are you guys sports fans?
I'm not. I used to work for the Phillies, but I'm not a sports fan. Everybody else is, though. Yeah, they're into it. And I'm just sitting there like, woo.
You're not like tipping cars and burning down buildings when you guys win championships?
No, I do that once a year, but,
We got to 45 minutes and it comes out that you worked for the Phillies. Like, that's probably a whole nother story.
Yeah, it's a completely different part of my life.
Well, next time. We'll have to jump onto that next time. But we really do appreciate you. We're looking forward to the next one. Do you know when the next music's coming out?
No.
No.
All right.
Well, we'll be waiting. We'll be waiting, and we'll be waiting. We'll share and repost as much as we can because
I really appreciate that.
Excited.
Thank you guys. This has been awesome.
Cool. Appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you guys soon.